Welcome to Worldview Tube's Washington Report. I'm joined by my co-host Jim Pfaff of theconservativecaucus.org. And Jim, it was a busy day at the White House today with Trump had a roundtable on Antifa with a bunch of independent journalists who have been down there live streaming and going into the danger to report on what's going on. And you have some friends that were there, don't you?
Yeah, Nick Sorter is really close to Myra and me. Yeah, it's really cool to see him there, and he did a great job. And, man, he's had to go have a lot of courage. Of course, our National Field Director, Chad Caton, was there with him as well during recent days over the weekend and such, helping to protect him. He's a military guy who understands how to do that. Nick, he had to watch out for Nick a little bit. Sometimes Nick just rushed into things, but it's exposed a whole lot of problem in this country, and just shows once again a situation where a city that won't do anything and police that won't do anything, Democrats are an un-American party that are creating more and more chaos in this country everywhere, not just Portland.
Yep, and I guess I'll start out with a clip from Nick. He is going off in the Trump cabinet meeting, or in front of the Trump cabinet on Portland police. Listen to this.
Removing me for my own safety. It never crossed my mind that I was the one that was being arrested for a crime after I was just thrown into a hole. I heard from the Department of Homeland Security after I had gotten out of jail, and one of your, I won't say exactly who it was, but somebody very close to Secretary Nome over here said that they were legitimately worried for my safety in the Portland jail. But luckily the Portland jail was, I was the only one there, essentially, because they don't actually arrest people in Portland. Besides conservative journalists, I guess. So, look, I'm glad that it was not a good night for me. Let's just say that. It was not fun sitting in that jail, but I'm glad to see what has come of it. And I've been able to talk to a bunch of FBI agents, ATF agents, DHS agents that I didn't even know existed until I went there and went to that ICE facility. And the morale is at an all-time high. It is so exciting to see these guys know now that they have the backing of the Secretary, the DOJ, as well as the President of the United States, and they are there to do their job. They are going to fulfill this mission and deport these violent criminals. I believe one of the ones that I did a ride along with Secretary Nome yesterday, President Trump, and there was a pedophile that had come into the country 5 times over the past 7 years. 7 years, and apparently under the Biden regime, that was just allowed to happen. That was fine, no problem. It's concerning to me that you're seeing the Portland Police Department, as well as the governor of Oregon and the mayor, of course, coming out and running defense for pedophiles that have entered the country illegally 5 times. It's crazy. I'm glad it's taking a front row seat in the media. And, they're being forced to talk about it in reality because, we're the ones that were on the ground. We're the ones that are actually reporting what's going on. Much of the legacy media has been either ignoring it or covering for Antifa for years now. So thank you guys so much for taking this seriously. And President Trump, you mentioned that flag.
Well, there you go. And then he proceeds to bring the flag out that was trying to be lit on fire by some of the protesters. And Trump goes on to say, let's find out who that was and put Pam on them.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, don't play my post because it just repeats all that. That section is on the post that I sent you that is mine. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he told Pam Bondi to begin the investigation. Donald Trump made it clear, by the way, some people are very upset about his flag burning executive order. It's not unconstitutional because the provision of that executive order does not keep people from burning flags in just a mere protest, free speech stuff. I mean, we all find that outrageous. But that's not what his executive order does. The reason he called Pam Bondi to do it in this case is because chaos and violence ensued after they were burning the flag. He went to protect it, and everyone ganged up on him, and then the Portland police throws him in jail. I mean, it's absolutely absurd what's going on in that city. Chicago is just as bad, and many other places. So the balanced focused approach of the Trump administration is working, and it needs to continue. And kudos to Nick for doing such good work. And he has Donald Trump also told him in this meeting, he says, you're becoming a star out of this. I guess that's one thing, you know. I mean, he is. It's really put the light on what Nick's doing. He does great investigative journalist work and deserves to be applauded for it. So glad he was honored by being in the White House so that he could talk more about it.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people there that, you know, they're independent journalists. You see them a lot on social media, but it was cool to see them get spotlight like that you don't see them get very often. The next clip.
By the way, I just shout out people like Andy Ngo. His last name is spelled Ngo. Andy Ngo is really the guy in Portland who has revealed what Antifa is all about. And of course, he's tracked Antifa all over the country. If everyone needs to follow Andy Ngo on X and go dig deep into his timeline. There's a meme out there. Progressive Christians are even trying to challenge me. So-called Christians are trying to challenge me and say there's no such organization as Antifa. That's been Democrats saying the same thing. Antifa is a very real organization. It is well funded. Andy Ngo has documented how this is an organized effort to try to overthrow the federal government. And in their activities, particularly in Portland and elsewhere, make it very clear that the Insurrection Act is a possibility for Donald Trump to employ to stop this sort of behavior. So we're going to see how that plays out. But kudos to Andy Ngo as well. He deserved to be honored there in the White House.
Yep. Well, the next clip I have is from Brandy Cruz, who is a Seattle-based reporter who says she suffered from Trump derangement syndrome for 8 years. And this is one of the reasons why she was cured of Trump derangement syndrome. Here it is.
Brandy Cruz, you're going to hear us be very fired up today, and you can tell, and it's because some of us have been covering Antifa for 15 years and have never had anyone in a position of authority even acknowledge their existence. And I'll also tell you that I think that had you not done, the single most powerful thing you've done to deal with this scourge has been acknowledging that Antifa is a real thing. I genuinely believe there would be people at these tables who would be dead today and would have been killed in Portland had you not called them a terror organization and said we're going to bring the full weight of the federal government to bear. I talked to Katie Daviscourt in Portland the other day. She'd been assaulted all summer. And she said the same thing. They didn't seem quick to violence as soon as you made that designation. So they're thinking in their heads, they're worried. There's been 24 or so arrested in Portland. They don't want to go to federal prison. There's this video of them, one of them who was in the face of an ICE agent, and then he's in custody shaking. Once you take the mask off, they're nothing. And I was told by probably a dozen people not to tell you this. I'm going to tell it to you anyway, because it's relevant to what we're talking about. I'm living proof that you can recover from TDS. I had strong Trump derangement syndrome for probably 8 years. This is one of the reasons I recovered from it. And by the way, it's much better to not have TDS. I'm happier, I'm healthier, more successful. I even think I got a little more attractive after I got rid of my Trump derangement syndrome. Yes. You know, I'm a reporter in Seattle, and frankly, I could not care any less what any of you have to say about this meeting. Could not care any less. We're not here for you. I'm not here to convince any of you that Antifa is a real thing, because if you have not come to that conclusion by now, you are never going to come to that conclusion because you don't want to see it. And you're going to go and you're going to say it's a bunch of right-wing conservative influencers who are here spinning a tale. I was one of you. I was a mainstream reporter in Seattle for 10 years. I was a TV reporter on the streets doing my job, and I was still assaulted by Antifa. So it's not about being conservative. It's about people who go there and show what they're doing. And when I saw, after all those years, that the media wouldn't be honest about what was happening, that Democratic politicians wouldn't be honest about what was happening, I thought, well, gosh, if they're not being honest about that, maybe they're not being honest about President Trump either. And it opened my mind to just looking at things for what they were. And now I find you quite funny, actually. Now it's like I said, I'm much happier about it. But, you know, for me, again, I could not care any less the stories that they go to print. This is what I care about. We have 3.5 years Nothing is guaranteed, although I think if Democrats keep it up, we'll probably have Republican presidents for the next 3 decades. But nothing is guaranteed, and so what I want to see over the next 3.5 years is a full court press to dismantle Antifa once and for all in a meaningful way. I know, Andy, we talked before this about some ideas. That's really what we want to. I don't care what the media says. I don't care what Democrats say. They will never wake up to this fact. So we want the federal government to take as many of these cases as possible, look at the interstate travel between Portland and Seattle when it comes to these people who are committing violent acts, and hopefully in 3.5 years, they will be a shell of their former selves.
Very close to that.
Well, there you go. Recovered from TDS.
Great statement. A lot of people are recovering from TDS. I mean, you just got to see the guy in action. People are inspired by courage. Donald Trump has courage. Everyone that was on that dais today and sitting around that table have courage because they're going through it in a major way, every single one of them. And we should be honoring that and exempling that. You can have courage, people, if you just stand up. Don't put up with it. And yeah, you'll be opposed and you'll have people hate you, and that all that sort of thing will take place. But isn't it worth it to take your country back and to assert something good in society once more? This good society we've had for more than 2 centuries now, 2.5 centuries almost next year. It's worth it, folks. Your country's worth fighting for.
Yep. Well, I got one more statement from President Trump here on Antifa. Here we go.
Was assassinated by a far-left extremist, that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a far-left extremist who inscribed the words, "Hey, fascist, catch," meaning catch the bullet, onto the bullet shelf itself. The epidemic of left-wing violence and Antifa-inspired terror has been escalating for nearly a decade. At universities, Antifa has organized riotous mobs to attack campus speakers. I see it all the time. And these are agitators, anarchists, and they're paid. And you'll find that out. You'll be finding it out very soon. You should see what we have on these people. These are bad people. These are people that want to destroy our country. We're not going to let it happen.
Yeah, and that's one thing that a lot of people are calling for, is to find out who is funding these groups. And I think they're working on getting to the bottom of that.
Yeah, we know of 2 of them. Obviously, George Soros and the Open Societies Foundation is funding these people. And secondly, we know for a fact that a gentleman named Noel Singham, who's an American citizen living in China with close connections to the Chinese Communist Party, he was a major funder of the groups that were instigating the LA riots earlier this year. I think you might find out that he also funds Antifa in some form or fashion. I mean, these people need to be held to account for the violence that they are paying to be perpetrated in this country.
Yeah, because a lot of the people on the streets are ill-intentioned, but a lot of them are just out there causing mayhem, and they don't even know what they're protesting for. A lot of them are just being paid to be out there.
Well, I saw a video, and I should have looked it up and shared it with you, but there was a guy in the Chicago area there who was interviewing someone who was preparing for protests around the ICE facility there that's making news. The reporter knew who the guy, or was familiar
I have it
with
here.
the guy because he'd seen. Oh, you do?
Yeah. You sent it to me. Here we go.
What's going on out here?
Right now we're just organizing stuff, getting ready for tomorrow.
What's going on tomorrow?
More of the protesting.
Well, what does the protest entail?
We're trying to get ICE to leave and stuff because they're just starting all kinds of issues.
And so I have a question for you. I know you.
Yeah.
From Seattle. What are you doing in Chicago? How'd you get out here?
Wait, I recognize you.
Yeah.
I came down here a little bit ago with one of my friends to do more protests in different areas.
All the way from Seattle, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
And we didn't just come here.
Where else did you go?
We were in California for a little bit, New York, and me and my friend did the No Kings Day rally.
How can you guys afford to travel so much?
He has a good job, so
cool.
Yeah.
He flies you out?
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting.
He has a good job. I would bet he's being
I can tell you what his
paid.
good job is.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what his good job
Yeah.
is. His good job is working for some structure that supports Antifa.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, he's probably, I don't know this for a fact, but he's probably shielding the real source of that money because he does know what's going on. That some guy with a good job doesn't fly his friend around to, I think he listed 5 different places. I mean, I travel pretty consistently throughout the year. I know how much that airline travel is. That's a lot of money. You don't just throw that around because you got a good job. There is funding behind this. It's a coordinated, organized effort to cause chaos in this country. And George Soros, Alex Soros, really pretty much running all of that right now. That Noel Singham character. So many of these billionaire donors that are supporting Democrats, they're supporting these organizations. They are shameful people who are causing harm to our country. They should be held to account. And if any criminal activity can be found behind it, they should be going to jail too.
Yep. And that reporter was Cam Higbee. And we have one more clip of him when we come back after the break.
Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
Very short. I'm attacked every time I do my job. When I leave my house to go to work, I am violently assaulted. I've had guns pulled on me. I've been bear sprayed. I've been beaten down. I've been almost killed. So my question for all of you is, how would you feel if every time you showed up to work, masked militants tried to kill you? Because that's how we feel. That's our lived reality. And you guys go and tell us that we're liars, the riots aren't that bad, right? I've never seen any of you guys on the ground. In fact, I've never seen anybody representing the companies you work for on the ground. You guys come to us for interviews that never get published. Stop saying we're lying. We're not. We risk our lives every day to do the job that you guys are too afraid to do.
What network would you say is the worst, if I could ask?
Oh, man, that's a real tight spot.
Honestly, it's a simple question.
Well, there's a lot of people in this pool, and I would say I'm not talking about Fox. I'm not talking about Newsmax or any outlet that resembles them, so I'll let you guys put the pieces together on who I'm exactly talking about.
Who would you say? Which network?
MSNBC, for sure.
Oh, they're terrible. I agree. They're
CNN, probably close, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rate it that way, yeah. MSNBC, that's Brian Roberts.
Yeah.
That he allows that to happen is a disgrace.
Absolutely.
And CNN is second.
Yeah, second.
I would say CNN is not quite as bad as MS.
MSNBC is not really a news site anymore.
Oh, MSNBC is sick.
Yeah.
They're sick.
Well, sir, it's also
else?
just the stories that they publish about what's the ICE enforcement operations that are so heavily slanted that it's no longer, as I was saying, no longer just Antifa, but Americans that are becoming radicalized. So they've been very irresponsible with how they've been reporting.
Who is that?
MSNBC, for example, they're
Would you rate them the worst?
probably.
Who would you rate second?
Well, they ran a story about an operation in Southern California about how a father of 3 Marines was arrested, and they made it seem like they just did it because he's brown. But there's video of that same man charging at the agents with a weed whacker. Now, I've worked with weed whackers back in the day, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of one of those. So that's why he was arrested, but the story was presented as if it's a brown guy just simply being arrested. And I've been around ICE agents, and I'm a citizen, so I feel fine. But it's just that's why. It's not just Antifa. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's multiple
working
factors.
in conjunction. I think they work in conjunction with some of the media. I think ABC is very bad. I think NBC is very bad. And CBS has a new owner, so we have hope for CBS. CBS has a great new owner, my opinion. But I will tell you, ABC is terrible. NBC is terrible. NBC's MSNBC too. You know, they changed it. They moved it over legally so they couldn't be tainted by the words MSNBC, but they are absolutely terrible.
Well, there you go. Trashing the media.
Trash them all you want. Keep at it. These people have to be shamed. There is an appropriate role for shame in society. We have lost the energy on generally the right traditional end of America, because we were told we're supposed to be so nice, and politicians were told to be so nice, and the shame was on showing niceness. There was never any need for that. Kindness is an important quality in any society, but kindness will call out evil. You are unkind to someone if you don't call out evil. If you're nice about evil people, you're evil yourself. So Donald Trump coming onto the scene, talking about these news organizations the way he is entirely appropriate. It's long overdue. We need to hold them accountable. Look what's happening at Netflix. They are getting waylaid recently because they're putting radical trans content on their site, which is really grooming content. And people are just opting out of the system. Now, they're still going to be around for a while. And we talked about this yesterday, I know, or about them. But they're being shamed, and there are things that are happening because of it. I don't believe in boycotts. I just believe we need to tell people who these people are and not hold off on what they are. Donald Trump is taking a great lead from the bully pulpit of the presidency to do that, and it needs to continue. These people are corrupt, and they are coordinating with Democrats and these billionaire donors in some way, even if it's just to cheer them on. They are coordinating this chaos in our country, and they need to be called out for what they're doing.
Yep. And I mean, they're losing power by the day. I mean, cable's going out. People are getting their news through X, through independent journalists, through networks like us. I mean, I can't see cable news networks being around much longer, honestly.
There'll be some form or fashion of it. I mean, Fox News brings in a lot of money. I'll tell you what would take them all down is if there is a follow through and these pharmaceutical companies aren't allowed to advertise anymore. Right at the moment that were to happen, CNN and MSNBC no longer exist. MSNBC is going to be gone anyway. NBC is spinning them off corporately on their own. They're not going to be able to survive on their own. CNN would not survive on its own unless it, like MSNBC, unless their parent companies continue to take care of them. It's their parent companies that allow them to lose money constantly. And we would do very well if they were gone. I mean, I like having regular news and around-the-clock news. CNN under Ted Turner back in the 80s and 90s really set the stage for what that could do, and in a positive way. Even as a left-leaning entity back in the 80s and 90s, you still got very real news. It was a very positive thing. I grew up with that. And I appreciated it in a way. Fox News came on the scene. And so you had a counter between the two of them. So that was very useful, but it's getting way out of hand. And I am all for the end of MSNBC and CNN. They're a blight on our society.
Yep. Well, their ratings are crashing them. So, I mean, some of the ones that, the ones that are actually reporting the truth will stay, and they'll pivot with the market and get out of, once cable goes down, they're on streaming, on social media and all that stuff. But I just don't see how some of MSNBC, CNN, and all these are going to stay afloat much longer. Trump also talked about designating, I guess he did designate Antifa a terrorist organization, correct?
He did.
Last
he put out
week.
an executive order on that. Yeah.
So now he's saying that they're going to work on designating them as a foreign terrorist organization. Here we go.
A terror organization. And I stand here before you today, and I'm echoing what Andy said over here. Are you going to work with your administration, as the Secretary of State's here, are you going to work with your administration to designate it a foreign terror organization?
You mean a terror?
Antifa? A foreign terror organization.
Well, has that been done? Pretty close, right? Would you like to see it done?
Yes, Mr. President.
Do you think it would help?
They have foreign
I'd be
links
glad
all
to
across
do it.
Western
I think it's
Europe,
the kind of thing I'd like to do. If you'd like, does
Middle
everybody
East.
agree? If you agree, I agree. Let's get it done. Okay, let's get it done. Marco, we'll take care of it.
Mr. President.
That's international, you mean?
Yes.
International.
Mr. President.
Sounds good to me.
Foreign terror organization.
Steve, are you okay with it?
Yes, it's true. There are extensive foreign ties, and I think that would be a very valid step to take.
Good, I think so too.
Yes.
Good, I think it's a good point. Thank you.
Designate.
Well, there you go.
It's a conspiracy. It literally is a conspiracy of chaos. Now I'm sure most Antifa members and people that get involved believe that all they're doing is just expressing their right to free speech and trying to change society. The organization is a conspiracy against rights. It is a conspiracy against government. And listen, I hate government. Don't get me wrong. We're a country of we the people. The government is not our grantor of rights or ultimately our protection. Our protection comes from God. But the purpose of government is to provide orderly structure so we can live our lives in a peaceable manner. And that is the most important thing that we need to protect. When you have government entities, as is happening with Democrat cities these days, who are fostering this chaos that is being coordinated with international money and international actors. Don't forget, Antifa is operating in Europe. They're operating in parts of Asia. They're even operating on other continents as well, but mostly Europe and North America. They are operating and doing exactly the same thing. They're internationalist in scope. And frankly, I think if you got deep down into it, you'd find most of their leaders and members are Maoist communist in their ideology. And they're internationalist communist to an extent in the old Soviet model. So that's their goal, is to overthrow governments and to transform them into something that is similar to a communist structure. Every country in the world would be just like China if they had their way. That is the model that they look to. And China, even though you see these beautiful cities that seem really fine and wonderful to some people, you'll see a video every once in a while of someone saying, oh, I'm here in China and it's just great. Well, it's only great for you because you're visiting. If you were ever a citizen, they're going to shut you down.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. That's what they
want.
want.
A lot of them love being shut down and love, they're just been turned into robots. I was getting my hair cut a couple weeks ago and the lady was from China. And she was telling me how much she loves China and how it's so safe there and she can go out in the street and not have to worry about anything. It's like, but if you tried speaking up against the government, you would be, you'd be locked down.
Listen, let's talk about this problem of safe on the street, because that is one of the big arguments for China. Why are they safe on the street?
Because they're a surveillance state.
Autocratic control of their citizens.
Yeah.
And they have a police state that will take away all your rights. Humanity is not perfect. 6,000 years of recorded human history proves the radical corruption of mankind. The United States was a very safe place. Certainly in the early part of the 20th century, we were becoming safe again after an aberration due to Maoist communist sentiment coming out of universities back in the 1960s. We got into a bad place in the 70s. We fixed it through the 90s and early 2000s. We were on a wonderful track. You're always going to have crime. You cannot stop crime, but you can have peace. Our problem right now is not that we're less like China. Our problem is that we're a whole lot like fascist Italy, having black shirts that are trying to push the political endpoints of the Democrat Party. Our problem with violence right now is Democrats. It's not Republicans, although we got a lot of stupid Republican politicians. It's not conservatives. It's not your average Americans. It is Democrats that are funding and promoting a black shirt group of people in Antifa and other organizations who are creating chaos with political leaders in cities who are throwing criminals back on the street in a wanton fashion with no regard for the safety of their people. This is a Democrat Party problem. They are an un-American party. And by the way, he should not only investigate what's going on with Antifa, he should investigate groups like Cheerla, who was the group that started the riots in L.A. They were receiving international money. Noel Singham, an American citizen, lives in China. He funds them. They also were getting government money from the state of California and the cities in California to the tune of millions of dollars so that they can promote violence on the streets. This needs to stop. That's the problem. It's not that we're less like China. It's that we're not enough like America.
Yeah, and we don't want to be like China. We don't want a police state and a surveillance state. And that's what we've been fighting against with some companies that are coming forth with like Palantir and offering different tech. And we don't want it. We don't want to be tracked everywhere we go. And if we don't clean up crime soon, I could see that being some of that stuff being implemented as a solution, but it's not.
The problem with the tracking is how will it be used? And so we should be very aware of that.
Exactly.
But technology's been a wonderful thing. We don't want it to be misused. And the only way to do that is to assert the Constitution and get a constitutional order back in place where civil rights are honored and respected and are taken care of in the law. And the Democrats oppose that. Not enough Republicans want to secure it. Donald Trump is securing it. And we can get there if we take the next 3.5 years, as that one lady said, to work very hard at it and aggressively so.
Yep. Well, we're all out of time for tonight. I have one last little thing to hit. Breaking: Trump and Netanyahu announced Gaza deal signed. Supposedly, they have agreed to phase 1 of the deal, which includes releasing all 48 hostages within 72 hours. And we will see if that happens. And the Israeli forces conducting phased withdrawal from 70% of Gaza territory.
Nobel Peace Prize, Donald Trump.
So we'll see. Until tomorrow, take care. All clear.
Okay, dude.
Tonight on the Worldview Report, new document disclosures reveal that the Biden administration's FBI secretly spied on the private phone records of 8 Republican senators, all as part of its Operation Arctic Frost. A Spanish priest gets convicted of a hate crime for speaking out against Islam. The U.S. is gearing up for a war in Venezuela. The CDC is no longer recommending the COVID vaccination. And China has been accused of directly assisting Russia with intelligence for use on the battlefield in Ukraine. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brannon Howse. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brannon Howse.
Good evening and welcome to the Worldview Report. Leading off tonight, an FBI record obtained by Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley reveals that the Biden administration's FBI secretly spied on the private phone records of 8 Republican senators, all as part of its Operation Arctic Frost. The once classified document is dated September of